The fast Tony Williams ride cymbal technique, which looks and sounds a lot like this. So if this is something you're struggling with, I get it. I was there for a long time. I was playing for about 20 years before I figured out what Tony was really doing on that ride cymbal. And though it took me a while, once I figured it out, it actually sped up the process quite a bit. So the good news for you is if you're struggling with this, chances are you just might not have the right technique. And if you get the right technique, speeding it up is actually the easy part. It's getting the proper technique that's the tough part. So if you're struggling with this video is for you. I want you to watch through the whole thing. And I just also want to, before we get started, I want to remind you to go ahead and tick the bell icon and subscribe. That way you can stay updated with all my videos. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So the Tony Williams ride cymbal technique, we're only going to be working with our right. In fact, I'm going to throw that stick away. I don't need it. I'm just working with one hand today. So the Tony Williams ride cymbal technique, when you're playing a jazz beat at a slow tempo, right? If you're, you drummers out there, depending on if you play German or French, doesn't matter. What you got to take into account is that slower tempos, if you're playing here, right, you can basically get every single note out of a full stroke of the hand, right? Bum, bum, ba-da. You can give the whole like wrist and forearm motion. You can do one of those for every single note. When you start getting faster, that's not possible. You have to figure out how to minimize that motion to where you're using one big fluid motion and getting smaller notes out of the wrist and the fingers. So you're only using one macro motion for your forearm, and then the smaller notes are coming out of some finger control. And so today we're going to be utilizing what's called the push-pull technique. And I'm going to show you a couple different ways that you can kind of implement this. And if you guys haven't watched my video on the push-pull, I would suggest doing that because it's going to make this video a lot easier because I don't want to go and re-explain all those basics. So okay, let's get started. There are two parts to the Tony Williams ride cymbal technique. There's one which is just the triple stroke, right? So it's that, right? And then there's the 5. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So before we get too far, I want to let you know I'm breaking this up into two parts. We're going to start talking about the 3 first, just the 3-stroke roll, all right? So the 3-stroke roll, like I said, for when you get to those faster notes, you're going to have to do basically what they call the open-close technique, or this is the push-pull. So normally when you do push-pull, it's push-pull, 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 right? And you get 2 notes, 1, 2, for every macro stroke of the forearm, right? Boom, 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 boom. So this is really good. If you guys, a good way to practice this is actually double strokes. Just doing this open close. But when you get to the fast Tony Williams ride technique, we're going to be utilizing our fulcrum here to kind of force a little bit of a bounce. So instead of doing open closed, right? Open closed for 2 notes. We're actually going to do open and then let the stick bounce for the second one. And then the close is when we snap those fingers in. So open, open, bounce, closed. Open, bounce, closed. So if you were to do this on a ride cymbal, this is what that looks and sounds like. So as you can see, the fulcrum in my hand, I'm actually basing it off the first finger here, right? Now, a lot of people have a lot of different theories on where your fulcrum should be, depending on if you talk to rock drummers, marching drummers. Some people don't even know what a fulcrum is. The fulcrum is the rotating part of the stick. So it's right where the stick meets the hand and actually does the turning. So it's right there. So in this one, I'm shifting the fulcrum to the first finger, right? Boom, boom, boom. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. However, what you just saw me do on that ride cymbal, you could also shift the fulcrum to the second finger. So So you could do this. I'll try to get it from side view here. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. So does that kind of make sense? So if you're playing this a slower tempo, you can focus on if you want the fulcrum to be between the middle finger and the thumb or the first finger and the thumb. And what I find is if you work on both at these slow tempos, when you get faster, your hand is going to naturally do what it wants to do. It's going to naturally pick the technique that's best for it. And if you strengthen those, you're going to be able to utilize both to your advantage. So I would suggest practicing this ride cymbal technique at a slow tempo with both, and then as you speed them up, also practice with both. So if you speed up this open, bounce, close technique on the ride cymbal, here's what that looks and sounds like. Okay, so once you get that, you can actually get it pretty quick. Now, those of you who are practicing on pillows or pads, the pillow and the pad, they're slightly different resiliency in terms of how they kick back the drumstick. So what you really want to do is after you got this practiced on the pad for a while, really go hit the actual ride cymbal, because the bounce that you're going to get from the ride cymbal is different than a drum pad. So you really need to get to know that bounce for it to work. Because if you don't, oftentimes ride cymbals, depending on where you hit them, if it's closer to the bell, it's a super quick reaction. It'll bounce back super quick. But if it's a real big ride cymbal towards the edge, it doesn't have the same sort of bounce. So you actually have to utilize a little bit more wrist action to pull that up at the end. So that's the 3-stroke. And when you get that fast, you know, it feels really good. And you'll start noticing if you practice that push-pull that I was talking to you about, and you really strengthen the muscles on the back of the hand. So we're talking the ring and the pinky. Those are actually connected to some of the biggest muscles in your arm. So you'll start to notice that when you really work those out with like a push-pull exercise, so you will end up not just letting the stick bounce. You're actually going to get to the point where you're going to be able to kind of also control the inner note, that inner bounce too. So it's not so much of push, bounce, pull. It's push and then mini stroke with those back fingers, and then you snap back in. So you're almost doing push, pull, pull, like a push and then a mini pull with those back fingers, and then a real pull to get the stick back up. So that kind of looks like this. So once you've got that strengthened, you can do that. You know how to work the fulcrum, and you know how to pull back with those back fingers. That's super important, getting that kickback. Then we can move to the 5-stroke roll. Now, I'm going to show you the mistake I made for many, many years, and what and then I'll show you how to fix it. So what I was doing for the 5-stroke roll was this motion where it's like push. I would actually do like a 3-stroke. So like 1, 2, 3, and then I'd snap back on that 3. Much like that technique I just showed you, 1, 2, 3. The technique I just showed you, I would use that as the first part of the 5-stroke roll. So I do 1, 2, 3, and then a one last push, pull, push, pull. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So the macro movement of the wrist and forearm would be like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. This should be grouped in first 3 notes and then 2. That was something that I couldn't get super fast for a long time, but that's what I thought Tony Williams was doing. But upon further examination of what he was doing, I actually realized he wasn't doing push, bounce, pull, push, pull. So he was actually doing push, pull, push, pull, push. And on that last push, he would also raise his hand off the drum. So do you see the difference in that between the two? The mistake I was making. This is the mistake I was making. See if you can notice the difference in the arm. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. It's not a bad technique, and you can get it pretty fast, but what you really want to start doing is utilizing push, pull, push, pull, push. Push, pull, push, pull, push. Push, pull, push, pull, push. So if you do that on the ride cymbal at a slow tempo, that looks and sounds like this. So I hope you can see how my hand is moving open, closed, and then just one last push, that one last stroke where you're not opening your hand up. So once you get that, then all you need to do is speed that up. And you'll find with this push-pull technique, as you're doing this 5, it's really, like I said, that snap back from the back fingers, it's going to start to strengthen that. And then your 3 strokes, the 3-stroke roll with the one hand, they're actually going to get stronger. So if you practice this 5 the right way, it's not just going to help out the 5, it's going to help out the 3, and everything is going to become more clear and streamlined. So all you need to do once you get that, push, pull, push, pull, push, push, pull, push, pull, push. All you need to do is repeat that a lot, like 1,000 times. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Let's practice that together. All right, so we'll do that tempo. Push, pull, push, pull, push. Right here, 1, 2, ready, go. Push, pull, push, pull, push. 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 I feel like it helps me if I say it out loud. I don't know why. Okay, so just repeat that, like I said, literally thousands of times. Then, once you get that, all you need to do is to speed it up. And like I said, take it to the ride cymbal where you're actually feeling that bounce. So that looks and sounds like this. If you guys notice something, that when we're doing this 5-stroke roll, a good way to practice it is to put it actually in the time signature of 3, where you're not necessarily thinking about the jazz beat, because push, pull, push, pull, push. That's essentially 6 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So if you practice this in terms of 3, then it'll help you kind of keep that organized. And then when you get really good at it, then you can start putting it in 4/4, where you're phrasing it over the bar line. Okay, so that's basically it. So if this was clear to you or not clear, let me know. I want to make this as clear as possible. And if there's something that has helped you, comment with it, because the comments aren't for me. The comments are for other people who watch these videos and see. And if there's something that helped you with that technique, other people will read the comments and they might get something out of it. So definitely comment with the best thing that has helped you learn this technique. Other than that, like I said, subscribe, like, comment, and I'll see you all in the next video.